Instagram. So we are live on Facebook, and I'm hoping some of our gals will see us and come straggling in. It's a busy weekend for many people. I understand that, and we're trying to bring our Instagram gang in there. And now they're on, so we are live, everybody. And I'm really excited to be live with Savannah Carlisle because she's a new author to me, and she's not new as an author, but we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And all of my gang who is used to these chats, when you ring in, remember, tell us where you're coming from. Savannah wants to know, and inquiring minds want to know. And I have some of the gangs already here. Hi to Susie. Hi to Kathy. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. This is going to be an interesting conversation. This lady, I'm already enjoying talking with her, and I'm so jealous of her gorgeous blonde hair. It's like, I say, when I get to heaven, I'm going to be a blonde. We'll see if God may not think that's very important. So
exactly my natural color, but it is freshly done last week.
Well, blondes, there's something about that beautiful blonde hair. I tell you, I love it. But anyway, and Susie, yeah, Mirrowstone Island. Susie is one of my Washington pals, and I actually sometimes get a chance to see her in person. And so anyway, I'm going to be excited as more of us come in. I'll try and make sure we say hi to you as you ring in. And the funny goal always is we want to be in from all over the country. South Dakota's checked in. Hi, Peggy. Thanks for being here. Savannah, we're going to just jump right in and start talking with Savannah about a little bit about her life and who she is. And Savannah, now this actually, I'll show this, hold up the book here. If you guys can all see this, this is her debut fiction novel, which we're going to talk about later, but it's not the first book. This is not her first rodeo. Savannah actually started as a nonfiction writer. And oh, hi, Carolyn. Thanks for joining us, Illinois. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you decided, I am just going to write some happily ever afters. What were you doing?
Yeah, I've always loved writing, and I started as a corporate lawyer, and I always tell people really that job was all writing too. It's just I was writing contracts and other legal documents. Then I sort of graduated from that into writing about legal issues in sports. I was sort of one of the OG bloggers. I have blogged since 2004. And about a variety of things, but sort of honed in on the business side of college sports particular. And that ended up changing job offer from ESPN to be their sports business reporter. So I left corporate law to be a sports business reporter and have written a few nonfiction sports books, but always knew I wanted to write fiction one day. I just had to find the time to do it. And of course, had to write some of those really bad first drafts that will never see the light of day before I finally got to something I could show people.
That's so cute. You broke up a little when you were talking. Hopefully you guys got all of that. Pretty impressive background, huh? And by the way, hi, Lisa has come in from South Carolina. Hey, Lisa, I hope you're going to maybe be able to see Nancy and myself and maybe Rayanne when we come down your direction. Kathy is ringing in from Idaho. Spudland. We love Idaho. It's a pretty state. So anyway, so if you guys got that, she has been done big time stuff. ESPN. Oh my goodness. That's like, I'm just going, wow, you are such a mover and shaker. That's really cool that's how you started. But of course, now she is also doing fiction. And I think you said you're also going to have some more nonfiction coming out next year. You've got more books coming out next year. How busy are you going to be in 2025?
Oh, I'm lucky that one of my books coming out in 2025, I really wrote in 2018, 2019. It was what I hoped was going to be my debut, and then it wasn't. And so I still had it hanging around and still really loved that story. And I'm lucky that I was able to do kind of a massive revision and get that picked up for next year. But I also have a nonfiction sports book coming up next year, and I publish under two different names. So Savannah Carlisle is my fiction name, but my legal name is Christy Dosh, and that's where I write my sports book. So I was joking with somebody the other day, I'm going to be signing books and I'm going to have to remember to sign the right name in the right book. So we'll see how that goes.
It's very hard when you have multiple personalities as an author. I know that from personal experience. I get confused as to who I am. Hi, Deborah, ringing in from Michigan. Thanks for joining us. So it's very fun. But so now we know her fabulous background. We're going to get to her book in just a little bit, but inquiring minds want to know more about your life in general. Tell us a little bit about your life. You've got family where you're living. What are you doing with your little self?
So I currently live on Amelia Island in Florida, which I know you're going to be here soon in a few weeks. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be here. I am going to be gone on a work trip. So I am just going to miss you. But I live on Amelia Island now. I grew up coming on vacation here my whole life and have been here about 12 years. But I'm from Atlanta originally. So I've always lived in the Southeast. And I'm lucky that my parents have, one of them has retired and the other one can work from home. So they have moved about a mile down the street. And my mother-in-law is actually my next door neighbor this way on the other side of this wall. So I have my family and my husband's family right here, which is actually a lot of fun. I love it.
That is just so darn cool to be so close to your family. What a cool thing, especially for many of us when our families are kind of scattered around the country. My two children are in two different states, and it's just makes me crazy going back and forth and trying to decide who I'm going to be with now. But that's great that you guys are all together. So what does Savannah Carlisle do for fun? Do you have time for fun? You are so busy working. What do you do for fun when you're not working?
Writing used to be my thing for fun, but now it's part of my work. I love skiing. So I try to go 2 or 3 different weeks during ski season out to Colorado to ski. I have a good friend out there that keeps all my gear for me and I can just hop on a plane and go. I wish I could do that year round because that is my favorite hobby. But unfortunately, I'm sort of limited to like December through mid-April for that.
But that's great that you're able to do that. I've always wanted to learn to ski, and way back when I was in high school, we just didn't quite have the money for the ski lessons and take the ski bus. But I had a very wealthy girlfriend, and I remember they took me one time on a little weekend thing, and the parents paid for a little ski lesson for us. And I thought, oh, this is so cool. I want to do this. And of course, then I don't remember when in the timeline that was, but I remember seeing the first Pink Panther movie, and they're all up there at the ski lodge being really glamorous. I'm going, I want to do that. And of course, it just never quite worked out for me to do that. And a few years ago, one of my girlfriends very diplomatically said, you are a little too old and pudgy to do this now, Sheila, give up. And I thought, okay, you're right. At this point, I could break something. So maybe those days, I'm trying to take up golf. But I think skiing is it's such a sexy sport. It's just such a cool thing to be able to do. It really is.
I didn't learn till I was 21, and I only learned because I was dating someone who had grown up in California, and he grew up snowboarding and wanted me to be able to go on trips with him. And so he went and stuck me in ski school one day. And I always say that's the best thing that came out of that relationship was learning how to ski.
Funny.
He did not turn out to be so great in the end, but I am thankful that he taught me how to ski because I love it. The problem was when I got rid of him, no one in my family, none of my friends skied because growing up in Atlanta, at least in my sort of area, no one went on ski vacations. Everybody went on beach vacations. So when I met my husband, he unfortunately also does not ski, but his mother does. And in fact, she will be 79 in December, and she is still skiing with me every year. I want to be her when I grow up. I cannot believe she's still skiing at this age. She's incredible.
That is seriously impressive. I think I still better stick to golf, but that's way cool that she's doing that. So hi to some more of us ringing in. Hi to Deanne. We have got Tanya and Kathy came in from Oklahoma and Debbie from Zephyr Hills, Florida. I'm not sure where that is, but it's really cool sounding wherever it is. So, and Becky is here now from let's see, is that Becky? Are you Midwest, Becky? I can't remember. Some of you guys are regulars now, and I should know where everybody is coming from by now, but I forget. So Tanya says, we are not a ski family, although my hubby and sons all skied or snowboarded before. I have not tried it because I used the excuse my knees were bad. Well, your knees can get worse. One of my friends who is a super skier, she's kind of paying for that now and has creaky knees, but it's also such a good sport for staying fit, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
It is. And I'm not trying to do black diamonds. I don't need to ski all day. I can go out, in the morning, go out till just after lunch, come back in, and that's fine by me. And my goal is to stay upright all day, not to challenge myself. I just want to stay upright and not get hurt.
That's a very worthy goal. Stay upright. Oh my gosh. Well, Thanksgiving. Oh, Tanya, thanks for reminding me. Central Illinois, that's very cool. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. I know all of us have got plans and things going on. What will Thanksgiving look like for you and your family? You're all together there, so how will that work?
We are. Unfortunately, I have one brother and my husband has one brother, and they live in other places, and we don't typically get to spend Thanksgiving with them. But I'll have my parents and then my mother-in-law, and then actually my dad. Two of his three sisters have moved here to the island. My mother has one brother who's moved here to the island, so we will all be together. And I think we're doing a pretty traditional Thanksgiving this year, but some years, because the weather is still so beautiful here for Thanksgiving, we will go outside and do a low country boil instead of doing a traditional turkey sort of Thanksgiving dinner. So I think we're going traditional this year, but some years we vary.
What is a low country boil? Is that what you
Yeah.
just said? What is that? I have no idea what that is.
It is a giant boil pot you do outside over sort of an open flame. And everybody does it a little bit different, but ours has shrimp, crab legs, sausage, potatoes, artichokes. I feel like I'm missing, and corn. And then you basically just boil all that. I think we put like 2 cans of beer in there for flavor, and then Old Bay seasoning.
Wow, and Old Bay, I've used that and stuff. That's really good seasoning. That sounds pretty cool. It's almost like, what's that? What's the name of that fancy dish that you make that has all the seafood and stuff in it? I can't think of it. There's a name.
Like cioppino, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of, like cioppino. Okay. So it's kind of like that, a little bit, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, kind of the southern version of that, I guess. If you go over to New Orleans, their boil has crawfish in it, but we don't do crawfish here in Florida.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, very cool. By the way, new people still joining us. Hi, Penny. Somebody else wandered in too. I'm trying to keep track. Anne Marie from coming in from Massachusetts. So this is fun. And Vicky has joined us. Vicky from Florida has joined us here. Vicky, I don't think I'm going to get near enough to where you are, am I, when Rihanna and I are down there? It would be fun if we could see you, but probably not, because I don't know where you are in relation to. I always say when I see Amelia Island, well, is that where Fernandina Beach is? Is that on Amelia Island?
Yeah, so Fernandina Beach is the city, and it makes up, technically, the city limits are like 3/4 of the island, but there's a little bit of the southern part of the island that's not part of the city limits.
Okay, it's gorgeous. I mean, last time I was down there, it's just charming. I can see why people want to be down there. Except I don't know, you guys in Florida, you brave souls with hurricanes and all the horrible things happening. I think I'm going to stay in the Northwest.
Yeah.
You guys were okay though, right?
We were, when Helene came through, that's the most sort of wind and the biggest sort of hurricane event I've stayed for, because we're on an island. They tend to evacuate us. So we've evacuated a couple of times in the 12 years I've been here. This we stayed for, and it was noisy. It was scary. So I can't imagine what it was like for people on the other side of Florida where it came in. You know, we had some downed trees. We lost power for a day. But nothing like people on the west coast of Florida or up into South Georgia and obviously into North Carolina. And then Milton came right after that. We'd just finished sort of cleaning up, and here came another one, but we got super lucky with that one. We're far enough north, it kind of missed us altogether.
Wow, golly. Well, interesting times, I tell you. More people ringing in. Hi to Cindy. Cindy is at Buns and Roses weekend, but she's actually from Chicago. So it's so fun that so many of you are joining us. I appreciate that. I hope you're enjoying getting a chance to know Savannah. She's a new author to me, and I'm just really having a good time. Savannah, I don't know if you can talk about some of our future things that you have in the works, where you're combining some different authors. Is that anything you can say yet, or do I have to be quiet?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, guys. I have a German Shepherd who all of a sudden has decided she needs my undivided attention and is all over me, and I'm the only one at home right now.
That's
So I'm
okay.
the only one that can. She's my little writing buddy, and usually she just lays at my feet, but she's having a time about something.
That's okay.
So yeah, I've been putting together a cookbook. I heard an idea from some other authors that I'm going to give credit as we sort of release it. I heard them talking on a podcast about years ago, and I think they're all fantasy authors. They did a cookbook together, and I thought, how fun would it be to do a cookbook with some other romance authors? Because a lot of the authors I read have recipes in their books already, or they at least talk about dishes, you know, with their characters that are special to that character or to that location. And I learned about these things, like teaching you about the low country boil. You know, I was reading something about a clam bake a couple of months ago, and I've never been to a clam bake before. So I love how food can be such a part of our towns and our families and getting to share that with other people. I just love. So I thought, what if we did something kind of themed for the holidays, and it gives us all a chance to get to know each other better. But as I thought about it, I thought, what if we did it from the perspective of one of our characters? I have a summer book, so I'm always trying to think about how can I market this summer book at the beach other times of year and not just during the summer. And so I thought, okay, my characters would be getting ready for the holidays.
Sure.
What would they be serving on their table? And so that was kind of the idea behind it. And you were nice enough to join in with us, and we have a great group. And I've already seen some of their recipes, and they look really good.
Yes, that's going to be fun. And I know we're working on putting that out. Are we hoping to have that out in time for the holidays?
Yes, I think the week before Thanksgiving we'll go live with it.
Okay, guys, so I will try and keep you posted on that. Is that going to be mainly an e-download then?
Yeah, and free, totally free. We're not doing this
download,
as a book people have to buy, just something for free to kind of get our audiences excited about our books and to introduce them to all of our friends. Like I know I read your books, and almost everyone who's on the list. There were a couple of authors added that I didn't know, but I ran and bought their books because now I want to read them. So it's all closed door romance authors. So this is sort of the spice free side of romance. I know it's a lot of what I read, and I just think those books lend themselves really so nicely to this idea of sitting down around the table with friends or family and serving these delicious meals. And like I said, I've seen some fun ones come in already. I'm a terrible cook, so I don't know that I'm going to cook any of them, but I'm going to show them to my mother-in-law next door. She's a better cook.
There you go. And you can cook them. That works. That's a great idea. That works. Well, let's move on to talking about your book. Let me show this again, you guys, so you can see it. And this is, even though she is a seasoned writer, this is her debut novel, you guys. And it's just really charming. And I'm going to give you a chance to just tell us a little bit about the Library of Second Chances. Where'd you come up with the idea? And what cool things are they going to find in this book?
Yeah, so the idea originally came from a little free library. Well, really multiple little free libraries that I went to during the pandemic. I started writing this book December of 2020 and had been going to little free libraries here in town. And we have some super cute ones that are, like shaped like little houses, or maybe they even match the house they're in front of. And they're just adorable. And now I find them all over the country, and I've got the app on my phone, and you can tell it where you're at, and it'll show you all the ones that are near you. So I've gotten very into visiting little free libraries on my travels. And I noticed that some of them do little something extra or a little something different. I went to one, and I think the woman made handmade coffee mugs, and she would have these coffee mugs in there that you could take with your book to keep. And people that put stickers and magnets and bookmarks in there, and little pieces of art. I went to one, and they had these tiny little canvases in there. I mean, people had some really cool stuff. And so I got to thinking about these little free libraries. And often when I open one and I look at the books, there's nothing I recognize, which is fine. I mean, there's so many wonderful books in the world. We can't possibly know all the authors and all the books, and I sit there and I read the back cover, but I started to think, wouldn't this book would give it a chance? And so I thought about this idea of having index cards in the little free library. And if you're dropping off a book, you write a quick little note to the next person saying, this is why you would like this book. Give it a chance.
Oh, great. I love that
and
idea.
So then I started thinking, well, what if people start leaving notes back and forth to each other? Because this sounds like a fun, like secret pen pal kind of thing that could start happening. And I thought about You've Got Mail, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that sort of took me the rest of the way with this story idea. I started thinking about, okay, they're falling in love with these little notes inside the little free library, but they know each other in real life and they don't like each other. What's going to happen when they find out that this person they're falling for through these books, and they're making notes in the margins to each other? What's going to happen when they find out who they are in real life? So if you liked You've Got Mail, it definitely has those vibes. Although I'll say, I saw a lot of people on social media saying they hated You've Got Mail because they don't like that he puts her out of business. So that
Yep.
does not happen in my book. He is not trying to put her out of business. They just
Good.
have a difference of opinion on something else happening in town.
Yes, that bothered me about the book too, actually. And in a way, you kind of saw, well, it had to happen, but it was not for those of us who are just, hardcore romance. We're like, wait a minute, what a jerk! What kind of hero is this? So I'm glad that your hero is not going to do that to our hero.
She does own a bookstore, but he is not trying to put her out of business. In fact, he actually is trying to help her with her business.
Oh, how heroic. Now that's the kind of hero we like, right, guys? That's very, very cool. Oh, hey, hi to Anne-Marie Palermo. And she says, congratulations on your new book, Savannah. And I already see some people bringing in that it's either on their TBR pile or is going to be. And so, guys, we appreciate that. It's, that debut novel that can be really hard. It's a tough slog. And this business is not for the faint of heart, really. It's just got its challenges. But we're all here writing because we love to write, right?
Yeah. And, it was particularly hard because Savannah Carlisle is not my real name. So I had to have my literary agent was like, look, you've got to have a different name because my sports books are under my real name. And she said, Amazon will not understand that you write nonfiction books about college sports and you write romance. It's going to show it to the wrong people. So you've got to have a different name. But that means a new website and totally different social media channels. And so you've got to build up your sort of author persona and your platforms from zero. So that's been challenging. It's been fun. And there's, getting to pick your own name is kind of fun. But it definitely is an added challenge.
Oh yeah, that's very hard. Oh, Tanya Jackson says, sounds good. What's the name of it again? The name is The Library of Second Chances. Isn't that a cute cover? I mean, who doesn't love a beach cover? And this book did come out earlier, but you know what? It's nice if you can keep the momentum going on a book. We always, as you guys know, because many of you are here all the time hanging with me, that first week or two that a book is out is hugely important to an author, but it's also hugely important to not be forgotten. So, we're always happy when you support an author and try out her book, especially a new author. And I think you said this is closed door romance, right?
It is, yes. And it's set at the beach. And I think the timeline in the book is summer, but I'm somebody who loves the beach year round. And when I lived in Atlanta, I always wanted to be at the beach. So I always read like Ellen Hilderbrand books year round. And so I'm hoping I can convince some people to read this outside of the summer because it's not necessarily a summer story. It had to take place sometime and it was set at the beach. So it was a summer book, but definitely I think has some themes that are good year round.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I mean, a good book is good no matter what time of year that you are reading it. And who else just came in recently? Hi to Linda, who has joined us. And always trying to keep track of who's joined the party here. I'm glad so many of you are taking time from your own busy days. Sundays can be a very busy family day, but I found also that, for most of us, it's a day off and there's a better chance that we can all gather. So, and I'm glad that Savannah was able to take time and gather with us. So tell us just a little bit more about this book.
Yeah, so I based it on the town where I live. So if any of you have been to Fernandina Beach here on Amelia Island, it is very much based on here. But then because I made it a fake island called Heron Isle, I got to take some liberties. I got to move some businesses around. I got to make Main Street look a little bit. We have Center Street here. I made it Main Street and I moved some things around. So it was nice to make it a fictional town. But if you've been here, there's a restaurant at the end of Center Street over the water called Brett's Waterway Cafe. And I have been eating there most of my life. It has been in 2 previous locations before where it is now. And I love that restaurant. And it's such an iconic part, I think, of our downtown. And unfortunately, if you are familiar with it, it is going away in 2025. We were just talking about the hurricanes a minute ago. There were a couple of hurricanes that came through, I think at 2017 and 2018, Irma and Michael, and they damaged some of the supports underneath that building where it goes out over the water. And the city owns that building, and they have been in a fight with the restaurant for years about who has to fix these issues. And it is sort of ahead, and their lease is up in 2025. And so they are not going to be able to stay. And in fact, that building, I believe, is being taken all the way out. I do think they're putting another restaurant in its place. That's all sort of been up in the air. But I started thinking about why would these 2 people in my book be opposed to each other where it's not her business at stake. And I decided they were going to have some sort of dispute over development, because that's often what we're fighting about here in my little town. And when I was a lawyer, I did historic preservation law. And so,
Wow.
that's sort of near and dear to my heart. And so the restaurant is a little different. It's owned by different people in the book. The owners in the book are nothing like the owners in real life. But I used that dispute over the restaurant, and this idea of a new waterfront development as the thing that Logan and Lucy, my main characters, are fighting over. Lucy wants to keep everything the way it is. She grew up there. She loves it the way it is. She hates change. She's had too much change in her life and she just can't take anymore. And Logan has been brought in by the city to develop the waterfront and help them make it more profitable. And so they are going at each other from the very beginning of the book all the way through, trying to figure out some sort of compromise.
Wow. Oh, I love that. So this restaurant is not going to just find a different location. They said, we're just done.
What I've heard is that they're not going to. The couple that owns it is older, and I think maybe they're just done. But who knows? They've been a little tight-lipped about it. So I still sort of am keeping my fingers crossed that maybe they will be somewhere else in town, because I love that restaurant. But part of it is the setting. It won't be the same without that setting.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's always, I always say, I only like change if it's good and it's happening to me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not fond of change. You just like things the way they were, and especially when you're in like a smaller town and it starts growing and becomes the place everybody wants to be, which actually happened to Seattle. I grew up in Seattle. I went to Queen Anne High, which is now condominiums. And Seattle was a very different town when I was young. It was kind of like this little big city kind of thing. And of course now it's just mushroomed, and I go into the city and I get lost half the time going, where am I? So it's just like, I think that's maybe why I like small town books, because, and especially as authors, the nice thing is we are in control, right? Like everything's going to be the way we want it to be, which of course is never how it is in real life, but
Yeah, and
anyway.
so much of my life inspires writing about these small towns. Like I always joke, people say that Hallmark movies are unrealistic because it's always this like big city attorney moving to the small town, whatever. But like that happened to me. I was a corporate lawyer in a big firm in Atlanta, and then I moved down here and live in this small town with my husband. I've got my mother-in-law next door and my parents a mile down the street and all these aunts and uncles who moved down here. So I've got all my family on this like 13 square mile island here with me. And I write books all day. I'm not a corporate lawyer anymore. So like I'm living the Hallmark movie, and that's why I love it. Although, in my books, I can make sure bad things don't happen. I mean, bad things obviously happen here, and things I don't like happen here. But in my books, I can make it go exactly the way I want it to go.
Don't we love that? I think that's one of the things most of us love as writers, because it's the one place. I remember earlier on in my career, went through some financial struggles, and I would go and I would just disappear and write, because it was like, okay, here's something I'm going to do. I'm going to try and help make some money, and I can control what is going on here. I can't control what's going on out there, but in here in Sheila land, I am in charge of everything. I like being in charge of anything anyway, but
Yeah, me too.
there's something really beautiful about it. As a writer, you can just, kind of decide what's going to happen for everyone. And as writers who like to write a happily ever after, it's really nice that we can have things turn out well for our characters. So that's just a fun thing to do. So guys, I hope you're enjoying getting to know Savannah. I don't know if anybody has any questions for her. We'll be closing out our chat pretty soon, but if you do have a question, pop it up here. I am trying to monitor comments as they come in, and I'm sure she will be happy to answer any questions you have. It's been very interesting hearing about your background. I had no idea about the whole lawyer thing and the sports writer. You have done a lot in your short lifetime.
Yeah, and I haven't practiced law now in a long time. I left law in 2011, but I do still do the sports reporting. In fact, I just spent all of last week on campus at Old Dominion University working with their coaches and their student athletes. So that's still very much a part of my life. And I was telling you before we went live, the question I get most often is if I'm going to start writing sports romance, because that's really hot right now. But I tried to start reading one yesterday and I couldn't get past the first chapter. Like it's just, I need those two parts of my life to be separate. And so I can't read them. I can't write them. I love that they're doing well. And I have friends who are authors in that space and I'm excited for them, but I'm going to keep my two worlds apart.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I remember way back, this is years and years ago, Susan Elizabeth Phillips, and she was kind of like started that whole genre with her sports romances with the football guys. And those were really fun. And I'm not a sports girl, really. I mean, I like to play tennis and that kind of volleyball. Well, no, finally hung up my knee pads. I thought you are getting too old for this. But anyway, but I grew up in a sports family, and football was the thing. And one of my brothers was even a football coach. And I am not a football fan. And so, but it was interesting. I found those books fun to read, even though I was not into the sports, which I thought was interesting.
You
Let's
know,
see, we've got Joe Williams saying Pamela Perkins. We have here on, oh, okay, this is just something, oh, this is a spammy, oh, Joe, shame on you, go away. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna get rid of him as soon as possible, get him gone. Sorry, Joe, but this is a girl chat. Anyway, I apologize. We're being crashed by a spammer here. And so just ignore that as it comes in. And anyway, let's get back to the important thing, which is Savannah. And tell us now, when you said you have more books coming out in the future. So can you tell us what those are?
yeah, so I've got one coming out in the spring that I wrote years ago and thought would be my debut, and then it wasn't. It is sort of inspired by the Miranda Lambert song, The House That Built Me. I have loved that song since the day it came out, and I spent years thinking about that song and thinking that there was a bigger story there. For those who aren't familiar with the song, this woman talks about going back to the house that she grew up in and sort of remembering who she used to be. And it kind of sounds like she's gotten off course and going back to this house and seeing these things that remind her of her parents and of her childhood. And that sort of identified for her how far off course she's gotten, and that maybe it has a line about something about if she can go back inside, maybe she can find who she is again. And I just kept thinking, like, who is this woman? What happened to her? And I spent years thinking about it. And I literally just woke up one morning and I had the idea and like scribbled it down in a notepad, and then spent 3 years writing it and editing it, and went out with my agent in March of 2020, about a week before the world shut down. We had taken it out to publishers, and then publishing just came to a screeching halt. And that book just sort of floundered around and died, but I still felt so passionately about it. So after I ended up, while I was waiting for it, I wrote The Library of Second Chances, and that ended up getting picked up by a publisher. And so as we were going through that process, I said to that publisher, hey, I have this other book that's already done that nobody picked up, but I love it. It has a special place in my heart, and I still want to publish it. And they really liked it too. And so that's going to be my spring book next year. And then I have sort of a surprise book coming next fall that hasn't been announced yet. So I don't think I can say much about it yet, but I'm really, really excited. I just finished writing it about a month ago, and I'm super excited about it. It does have a former Major League Baseball player. I would not consider it sports romance, but it does have a character who has a baseball background. That's as close as I can get.
Well, that sounds good. Well, Nicole, by the way, Nicole says, love it. I'm in a transition, leaving my family home. So, boy, that's hard to do, Nicole, but hopefully you will find inspiration in reading Savannah's books. And Kathy wanted to know, is this the one we're talking about, The Library of Second Chances? Is this a standalone book then?
It is, yes.
Okay. All right. Very good to know. So let us know where, oh, first of all, guys, I have to mention, Savannah is very kindly going to do a book giveaway. So if somebody would like to give that book a read, and maybe the budget's a little tight right now, why don't you post here, and when we're done, once I'm done eating dinner, I will go through and we will randomly pick a name for Savannah to send you a book. So if that sounds fun to you, please do comment. And so Savannah, tell us where everybody can find you. I'm assuming you've got a website, you've got to be all over social media. So where are you, girl?
I've got SavannahCarlisle.com. That was part of picking a pen name, was you've got to pick a pen name that you can get the URL and the social media channels for. So I went through a lot of names I thought I wanted, and then Googled them and decided either somebody else already had it, or one of the ones I Googled, the person had just committed a string of murders. And I thought, that's not what I want to come up when people Google my name. So
no, that is not good.
Savannah Carlisle was eventually what I landed on. So I do have SavannahCarlisle.com.
Savannah, you froze partway through that. What was the name? You said
did I freeze telling the story about my name?
Repeat that, because you keep freezing on us.
There was a name I picked, and when I picked a name other than Savannah Carlisle. And
Oh,
when I went to try to get the website, I realized that somebody with that name had just committed a string of murders.
oh. Well, I think
So I
Savannah
decided
Car.
that's not what I wanted to come up when people Googled it.
No, no, no. Yeah, and Savannah Carlisle is a great name. It really is. So they can find you also for those of us who like to do Facebook as well as Instagram. You are in both of those places, correct?
I am. I'm Savvy Carlisle on all the socials, Savvy, because Savannah didn't fit on one of the networks. So I'm
Oh,
Savvy Carlisle on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of them.
that's cute too, though. I like that. That's really fun. So, guys, I hope you'll be looking for her. And I'm so happy you were able to join us for a chat tonight. This has been really fun getting to know you. And I'm going to start slowly closing us out and saying adios. But you can feel free to keep posting this. If you want to get the book giveaway, this was definitely a need to be present to win. So, hopefully, as we're winding up here, squeeze your comment in if you're interested in a book. And I want to say thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, everybody who was able to come live. I so appreciate you taking time.
It's been great, great fun, Savannah, and we will look forward to seeing more of you in the future. And I'll keep you guys posted on the holiday cookbook. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.